speech, the thought-provoking questions kind of got perked my interest a little bit, got me thinking about why I like certain beaches, why I go, things like that. I think you did a pretty good job at pointing at the visual material as far as locating the cities on the map. There was a couple of times there where he paused, trying to remember where to catch up where he was going, but it was good to see he was I saw him, especially at the beginning, speaking a lot from memory, not so much looking down at the paper. I think he had a good visual format. It was good, a little historical review of how Acapulco developed as a tourist attraction. For me, Puerto Vallarta was especially interesting. That's where my wife and I spent part of our honeymoon. It was a pretty good description of the different features of the various locations he was informing us about. At times, though, it felt like I was just hearing a report on these locations. Kind of got a little lost at some points. I was losing my focus and interest during those times. That's about it. All in all, though, I think you did a pretty good job.
All right. The greeting's okay. The rhetorical questions are okay. I think you could find something more interesting, but they work. Your topic's fairly clear. You've got a good goal that you set up at the beginning, but during the speech it seems sometimes like you were talking less about the beaches and more about the resorts or the locations. Every time I heard about the airport, I'm going, well, that's interesting, but what's that got to do with the beaches, you know? And I think maybe you need a more general statement about the locations as opposed to just the the beaches. These are the beach cities to visit in Mexico, for instance. Maybe that would be a better way of phrasing it, so that gives you a little bit more leeway to include that other information and make it seem relevant. You had airport stories on 2 of them, and that was, like I said, one of them was kind of interesting with all the windows being busted out by the large plane. It would have been, I think, a little better if you could have mentioned the incident in terms of time and what the plane was that was flying in there. Was this something that was recent, with one of the new big Airbus kind of planes, or was this something back in 1964 or 61 when they introduced the 747 or something like that? I mean, give it a little bit more context, and I think that would help. I thought that you needed to cite your information a little bit more consistently. It sounds like it's mostly from tourist brochures and tour books and those kinds of things, which is okay, but they ought to be cited. It's very nicely organized. It's topical by geographical location, and that's fine. It's easy to follow. I like the map that you keep going back to refer to, so we get some sense of where these are in relationship to each other and where they are in Mexico. I thought that was fine. The images are large enough for us to see, and you had it planned pretty well to move through the visuals, so I didn't see any big problems there. I don't think you need a title page visual. I don't know that the picture of the leather goods gets us that much more into the speech, but it didn't hurt. It just maybe is a little bit of a distraction. And you sound like you're a little uncertain sometimes about where you're going. I know you're trying not to read everything, which is, I think, a good thing, but you need to have a little bit more confidence and direction when you're going in those particular places. Maybe if you had a similar structure for each of the points that you were talking about for each of the beach cities, to say, I want to talk about, in particular about the beach, what the resorts are like, and I want to talk about the unique feature that made them unique in the first place. Why did people come to this particular place? For Acapulco, it's the cliff diving that brought people there. For Cancun, it's the development of the airport that turned it into this resort. It was the miracle that happened in this particular situation. For Puerto Vallarta, it's the historic occasion that made it the center of attention, that drew people in. And then I think it would have a little bit more drive and energy to it. All right, thank you.